Gouache has become my absolute favorite medium to work with, and today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to get started painting with gouache. Hi, I'm Madame Berry, and I love painting surreal portraits of women with gouache. If you want to slap my paintings on every flat surface imaginable, I sell prints and stickers of these girls in my online store at madameberry.com/shop. Let's get started. The first thing you need to get started painting with gouache is, well, gouache. This comes in two different forms, regular gouache and acrylic gouache. Let's talk about the difference. Regular gouache is water-soluble and can be reactivated, meaning that when it dries, it can be re-wet with water. If you put it in a dry palette, you can let it dry and then use it again. This is how I like to use my gouache, but that also means that after it dries on the paper, you have to be a bit careful so that it doesn't come back off of the paper if it gets wet again. Some people don't like this, so that's why acrylic gouache exists. Acrylic gouache dries permanent, so it can't be lifted again after it dries. I only have one tube of acrylic gouache because I like to re-wet my paint. Next, you'll need something to paint on. Gouache works best on paper. This paper is my favorite. It's Arch's 100% cotton watercolor paper. A more budget option is Fabriano Studio's 25% cotton paper. But any 140-pound watercolor paper should do. You'll notice that the watercolor papers are labeled either hot or cold pressed. Cold pressed is bumpy, while hot pressed is smooth. Pick whichever texture you like best. Overall, I like paper that isn't too absorbent. Some papers really suck the paint in, and that can leave you with a paper texture rather than the flat matte finish that gouache is best known for. Whichever paper you choose, make sure it can handle large amounts of water, because our next tool is water. Gouache is a water-based medium, and if you use it right out of the tube, it's a little thick. You want to add a little bit of water so that the texture of the paint resembles melted ice cream. Getting this balance right can be a little tricky, so add little bits of water at a time until you get the texture that you want. Some people like to have two water containers nearby. One for rinsing their dirty brush, and a second for picking up clean water to put on the paint. I'm too lazy for this, but honestly, I should probably start. You'll need something to apply the paint, so our next tool is paintbrushes. Any synthetic watercolor or acrylic paintbrush will do. Don't get these oil painting brushes with the thick bristles, because they'll just scratch and scrape at your paint rather than spread it around nicely. I love these round brushes from Transon, and I use them for almost every painting because you can press down and make thick strokes, but you can also use a light touch and get these teeny thin marks all just from this one brush. But I also like the shapes you can make by using square brushes to get hard right angles in your brush strokes. Whenever you apply water to paper, it starts to curl. So to stop that from happening, you'll want to use our next tool to tape down your paper. Most masking or painter's tapes will work, but you'll want to make sure to get one for light surfaces or one that has low tack. That way, it's not so sticky that when you try to pull it back up off of your paper once the painting is done, it starts to rip the paper because nobody wants that. Speaking of taking the tape off, have I mentioned that this is my favorite part of the painting process? I love seeing the crisp, clean lines of the paint. Oh, this is so satisfying. And there you have it. You're ready to start gouache painting. What art supplies do you want to learn more about? Let me know down below. If you're like me and you can't get enough gouache, make sure you're subscribed, because I have a video coming out soon about common gouache pitfalls and how to avoid them. If you want more gouache goodness right now, hop over to this other video where I take you through my process of making a holographic sticker from a gouache painting. I'll see you over there.